Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Śrī Prabhupada. So today we will study the mantra 13 of Śrī Īśopaniṣad. Anyadevahu sambhavad, anyadahura sambhavad, iti shushrumadhiranam, yenastad vichachakshire. It is said that one result is obtained by worshipping the supreme cause of all causes, and that another result is obtained by worshipping what is not supreme. All this is heard from the undisturbed authorities who clearly explained it. So this, just like mantra 12 was parallel to mantra 11, this is parallel to mantra 10, right? And the only replacement is that, so in the first line, Anya Devahur Vidyaya, in mantra 10, Vidya is replaced by Sambhavat. Then the second line, Nya Dahura Vidyaya, right? So there it is replaced by Asambhavat. Otherwise, Iti Sushrama Dhirana E Nastat Vichakshi. Right? So we see the parallel structures there. In mantra 13, the Asambhavat refers to one who is dependent. So the previous mantra talked about the Devas and the impersonal Brahman. Here they are both combined. So there Brahman was presented as Sambhavat and the Devas are as Sambhavat. But here both Brahman and the Devas are presented as Asambhavat, with the understanding that the Brahman is also dependent on Krishna. And Sambhavat or independent is now presented as Krishna. So essentially what the mantra is saying, that by cultivating knowledge of Krishna, one attains Krishna. By any other knowledge, one attains other than Krishna, whether it is a Deva, Brahman or anything else. So mantra 12 condemned demigod worship and also condemned the worship of the impersonal Brahman. Right? And mantra 13, as I mentioned, introduces the notion of worship of Krishna. So in addition to that, it also points to the understanding of Shabda Pranam from a self-realized person. Right? So the dhiras, same dhiras is used in both words with the same meaning. That this is a self-realized soul appearing in a bona fide disciplic succession. So Sambhavat represents to the personality of Godhead and Asambhavat refers to anything other than the personality of the Godhead. So worshipping the absolute will lead to one destination and worshipping the relative will lead to another destination. So Prabhupada has a fairly long purport of 16 paragraphs, and he talks about the importance of dhira, that the dhira exposes the folly of this notion that all paths lead to the same goal conception, and actually teaches that different paths lead to different goals. This is the first 4 paragraphs of the purport. Then in the 5th paragraph, Prabhupada talks about accepting Krishna as Sambhavat. That the importance of accepting Krishna as the supremely independent. And if one does, then Prabhupada gives the example of Arjuna in paragraph 9, one kills the relatives to satisfy Krishna. And if one does not, then one would consider themselves or others to be God. So if they don't accept Krishna as God, then they will accept anything and anyone as God. And what helps is hearing from a dhira. So Prabhupada in the purport, if you notice, in the first 4 paragraphs and the last 4 paragraphs, 8 paragraphs, he talks about the importance of listening from a qualified acharya in a disciplic succession. Okay, so the notion that Krishna is only God and Srila Prabhupada, he gives several references from the scriptures, and I would strongly urge you to read those references that establish the position of Krishna as the personality of Godhead. So some of the references that Prabhupada gives in the purport, the first is from Bhagavad Gita 10.8, one of the Chaturshloki, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu Matata Sarvam Pravartate Iti Mattu Bhajante Mam Buddha Bhav Samanvita. Krishna says, I am the source of all material and spiritual worlds. The wise perfectly know, engage in my devotional service with all their hearts. So this verse is saying almost exactly what the mantra is also saying. That's why Prabhupada brings it to our attention. And then he talks about different quotes from Atharva Veda, Gopal Upanishad. Krishna is described as he who existed before the creation of Brahma and who enlightened Brahma with the Vedic knowledge as Lord Krishna. In the Narayana Upanishad, it is said that the Supreme Person Narayan desired to create all living beings. Thus from Narayan, Brahma was born. Narayan created the Prajapatis, Narayan created Indra, Narayan created the 8 Vasus, Narayan created the 11 Rudras, and Narayan created the 12 Adityas. And Prabhupada says Narayan is a plenary manifestation of Krishna. Narayan and Krishna are the same. Then further in the Narayana Upanishad, verse 4 states that Devaki's son Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So the identity of Narayan with the Supreme Cause also has been accepted and confirmed by Sripad Shankaracharya. Even though Shankara does not belong to Vaishnava or personalist cult. The Atharva Veda Mahapanishad states that only Narayan existed in the beginning, when neither Brahma or Shiva or fire or water, nor stars, nor sun, nor the moon existed. The Lord does not remain alone, but creates as he desires. Then Krishna himself states in the Moksha Dharma, I created the Prajapatis and the Rudras, and they did not have complete knowledge of me because they covered by my illusory energy. And then in the Vara Purana, it is stated that Narayan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and from him the four-headed Brahma was manifested, as well as Rudras, who remain omniscient, who later became omniscient. So Prabhupada said thus all the Vedic literature confirms that Narayana Krishna is the cause of all causes. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarvakaran Karanam. So Krishna is the cause of all causes. So the learned persons know by the evidence of the great sages and the Vedas, and therefore they decide to worship Lord Krishna as all in all. Such persons are called Buddha or really learned because they worship only Krishna. And those who do not are Mudha. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada gives several Vedic references to establish the position of Krishna as the personality of Godhead. So while Krishna is glorified as God, the Upanishad in this mantra condemns the Brahman. And here it is said that those who worship the impersonal Brahman will head to a hellish destination. Right? So the Brahmavadis, the Mayavadis, one can understand that because they're confusing Maya with the Supreme Lord, they get caught in the cycle of birth and death. But what about the Brahmavadis? So even the Brahmavadis who are actually worshipping the Brahman, even they are condemned. And there's a different reason that are given. So one is that the Brahmavadis after a very long time come down to the material world in order to fulfill the inherent nature of the soul to associate and serve. So essentially they're condemned because they are working hard to get to a destination which again turns out to be temporary. Then Brahman is also condemned because for Vaishnavas going to Brahman is like going to hell. And this is what the Upanishads also say. Why? Because in the Brahman there is no opportunity to express one's individuality in the service of Krishna. So for the Vaishnavas, any place where they cannot serve Krishna is hell. And Brahman is such a place. Okay? And thirdly, it is considered worse than taking birth in the material universe, because at least in the material universe, one's individuality is preserved. The soul's intrinsic nature, though it may be misdirected, is still preserved. But in the Brahman, that is taken away. In the material world, there is an opportunity to meet and serve devotees and make advancement. In the Brahman, that opportunity is not there. So that is why it is further condemned. Then the mantra talks about how do we get this knowledge? Bold statement that is being made. They either worship Krishna or go to hell. Right? Where do we get this knowledge? So, just like in mantra 10, same point is made here. From an undisturbed acharya, one should hear with faith and with love. Right? Same point, that in a bona fide disciplic succession, a practicing acharya instructs, and instructions are received with an non-envious heart. Right? The flip side is one who does not have faith in or love for Krishna. Such a person cannot be convinced of this simple truth. One may say it's a simple fact, Krishna is God. Why don't people simply accept it? Because they lack faith, or their love for Krishna is covered. So in the Bhagavad Gita 9:11, such people are called Mudhas. Right? So they just said the Mudhas derive the personality of Godhead because of this reason, that they do not have complete knowledge from an undisturbed acharya. They have incomplete knowledge from a disturbed so-called acharya, and that's why they become Mudha. And such a person, he is caught in the whirlpool of material energy. And because he himself is disturbed, he is not qualified to lead other people. Srila Prabhupada makes this important point in the purport that different paths will lead to different destinations. Right? One of the popular conception is all paths lead to the same destination. So as I was mentioning, that there are many people who are practicing Mayavadis even though they don't realize it. And they make statements like this, that whatever you do is okay, or all paths lead to the same destination. Prabhupada speaks very strongly against it. Right? He gives the analogy that if you buy a ticket and get on a train to Delhi, you won't reach Mumbai, and vice versa. Right? So you cannot say that I can get on any train and I will reach the same destination. Right? And demigod worshippers are also covered impersonalists, right? Because they consider the Lord to be many. Right? So they are also, in a way, they may be not as bad as impersonalists. They are not destroying the form of the Lord, but they are also not accepting the unique form of the Lord. And then the point also is made that not all demigod worshippers have the conception. So there are some that will worship the demigods as representatives of Krishna. Examples are given is Prithu Maharaj, who worshipped the demigods as servants of Lord Vishnu, and the gopis who did the Katyani Vrata in order to attain Krishna Prema. Right? So they are worshipping them in the right conception, but the majority of the demigod worshippers worship them as God for material desires. So I wanted to give now a few examples of scriptural refutation where instructions are repeated to contrast one another. We see that in the Īśopaniṣad, where the mantras are speaking about things that are contradicting one another, and essentially they're giving knowledge through that contrast. Right? So let's take the example of faith. What happens when you have faith and what happens when you do not have faith, right? And this is also relevant to the point we made in the last slide, that those who have faith can reach Krishna, and those who do not have faith will never reach Krishna, right? So in Bhagavad Gita 3:31, Krishna says that those who execute their duties according to my injunctions become free from the bondage of fruitive activities. And then in the next verse he says, those who out of envy disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled and ruined in the endeavors for perfection. Right? So 331 is those who follow the acharyas, 332 is those who do not follow the acharyas, the bona fide acharyas. 439, a faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge, subdues his senses, is eligible to achieve such knowledge. And having attained it, he attains the supreme spiritual peace. But the ignorant and faithless who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. Right? So the first two verses talked about faith in the instructions of Krishna, and the next two verses talk about the faith in the scripture, which is essentially the same, because the instructions of Krishna appear in the scriptures. So those who have faith, and those who have faith in those who are teaching these instructions, they achieve freedom from the material world, and those who do not have will fall down. Right? So clearly Krishna is talking about different paths, different results. Right? You follow the path of faith, one result. You follow the path of not having faith, you get a different results. Like another example is 1623. One who disregards scriptural injunction, like acts according to his own whims, attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. And the next word he says, one should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by regulation of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may be gradually elevated. 925, Krishna says, those who worship the demigods will take birth amongst the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among the beings. And those who worship me will live with me. Right? So all these verses, they are making this point that by one conception you will go to one path, by another conception you will go to another path. Right? 1858, same point is made. That if you become conscious of me, you will pass over the obstacles, but if you act on the false ego, you will be lost. So in the Bhagavad Gita, this message is consistently given, that one who has different faiths, one who is following different paths will achieve different destinations. So the statement that all paths lead to the same destination is repeatedly negated by the scriptures. And in this we also understand that one who follows the path of faith reaches Krishna. One who follows the path of anything other than faith reaches a destination other than Krishna. Right? So this verse kind of reconciles yatha mam prapadyante tam sathe pajamyo mam vartamane vartante manushyapartha sarvasha, that everybody follows my path in all respects. Right? So Prabhupada, he speaks about the first two lines about the reciprocal nature of Krishna. That as all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Like one who surrenders to me with love, I reward with love. One who surrenders to me with hatred, I reward them by allowing them to hate me even more. The second two lines are the object of focus of the Mayavad, is that Krishna says, Mam vartamanu vartante manushyapartha sarvasha, that all paths are mine. Right? So this essentially is often quoted to make this statement that all paths lead to the same destination. They say, well, look at it. Even Krishna is saying that manushyapartha sarvasha, mam vartamanu vartante, that all paths are essentially mine. But actually what it means is that not that all paths are mine, but all people follow my path, which means that people are attracted to my different opulences. And so even those who are following Brahman are attracted to the impersonal aspect of Krishna. Even those who are following material enjoyment are attracted by the external energy of Krishna. So it's not that Krishna is saying that all these paths lead to me, but Krishna is saying that all these paths are coming from me and they will lead to different destinations. Krishna makes the same point in 1042, that know that all opulent, beautiful and glorious creations spring but from a spark of my splendor. Right? So this verse, when it is properly understood, it negates the Brahmavadi or the Mayavadi conception that all paths lead to the same destination. So generally we can say that the paths belong to three categories. There is exclusivism, pluralism and inclusivism. So exclusivism is that my way is the only way. And this is the Abrahamic religions, where they say that if you don't surrender to, for example, the Christians say, if you don't surrender to Christ, you will go to eternal hell. There's no other way. That's the only way that they say. My way or the highway. My way is the only way. Pluralism is what we were speaking about. All paths lead to the same destination, or all ways are the right ways. So this is what is New Age Hinduism. This is Hinduism that has been contaminated by the Mayavad, nationalism, socialism, and envy of Krishna, all those things, and they have basically come in this New Age Hinduism, that laissez-faire. Let everybody do what they want to do. All paths will lead to the same destination. And inclusivism is that there is one way but many levels. Right? It combines both exclusivism and pluralism. Right? This is the bona fide Vedic way, that ultimately there is only one way, which is the path of bhakti to Krishna. But there are many levels in it. There may be some who are in the earlier stages of their path practicing materialism. There may be others who are practicing impersonalism. And there are others who are practicing personal devotion. Right? So it's not that they are different paths, but they are different levels on the same path. Right? So this brings us to the notion of the yoga ladder that Krishna speaks about in the 12th chapter. For example, one of the statements that was made popular by the New Age Hinduism in Manav Seva is Madhav Seva. And Prabhupada negates it by saying that the best Manav Seva is to connect the Manav to the Madhav. Right? It's not that you replace Madhav with Manav and say that the Manav Seva is Madhav Seva, but you attract the misguided Manav to the correct position of relationship to Madhav, and that is the best service. So what's the conclusion? The worship of Devas will lead one to repeated births and deaths. Worship of Krishna will lead one to the spiritual world. The distinction is best understood from the liberated souls. So that brings us to the end of mantra 13, and we will continue with the next mantra in the next discussion. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.